Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Power of Now Inside Outside on Wellness Wednesday. I'm Coach Mitchell,
And I'm Coach Darren.
and tonight we want to talk a little bit about upcycling the foods that you already have in your refrigerator or
Yes.
in your vegetable basket
Mhm. In your home.
in your home.
And upcycling, people ask, well, what is upcycling as opposed to recycling?
Uh-huh.
Well, upcycling is simply finding new uses for which you would normally food that you normally throw away.
Right.
Now, we've talked about growing from scraps. So we use scraps from like celery, beets.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we've done cabbage.
zucchini,
Yes.
tomatoes.
Tomatoes, yes. So, you can reuse your scraps to grow new food, but you can also look for ways to upcycle food waste that we normally that you normally throw out. It's a way of reducing waste, coming up with new creative ideas, so it helps your creativity. So it's just a really great way. Oh, and there's also economical benefits because like for instance, what we share now is we making healthy desserts
Mm-hmm.
from things that some people might just toss. Mhm. So, uh, and like I said, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about maybe ways to save money because sometimes people talk about um,
The cost.
the cost of eating healthy, which we kind of believe is sort of misguided.
Yeah, and uninformed. I think
Yes.
a lot of people are uninformed on how you can do that, even on a budget,
Yes.
because you don't have to spend an exorbitant amount of money on eating healthy.
Correct.
Now, not to downplay it, there are some costs associated with eating healthy if you're going the organic route, because of course organic foods, if you don't grow them yourself, are expensive in the market.
Yes.
So you want to go ahead and talk about what you have laid out here, and then I'll talk about some of the things that we've upcycled
Okay.
using some of our, fruit pulp
Yes.
from our
Well,
juices.
let's kind of start I'll start with some tips for saving money.
Okay.
Uh, one tip is.
I was going to say, while you do that, I'm just going to make sure that we're connected on social
Okay.
media. But go right ahead.
So one tip that you can do is, as Coach Mitchell said, when it comes to buying organic, you don't have to buy everything organic. And one of the tips that I tell people is to visit ewg.org, and they will always list the foods, they call them the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And the Dirty Dozen are the foods that have the most pesticides.
Okay.
And the Clean 15 are the top 15 foods that have the least produce, I should say. So you can always go there to get an idea of, maybe the things that you should buy organic or the things that you shouldn't. And again, our first rule is always eat as healthy as you can afford. If you can't buy organic, and you can't buy organic, there are ways of, trying to clean the produce to remove, some of the pesticides, but it's not 100%.
Right.
So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I think we may have mentioned before is, if you go to farmers markets, you want to go near closing. Why? Because you're catching farmers and gardeners as they're packing up or prior to packing up, and they really don't want to carry that stuff back because again, it's produce. It's
Right.
not going to last. So they really want to sell it. They may be likely to sell it at a reduced price.
Yep. Case in point, last week I caught the farmer's market maybe 15 minutes before it was closing, and they were selling fresh picked peaches. And they were selling yellow peaches and white peaches. And as I was inquiring about the price, the farmer actually said, I have white peaches, but I'll sell them to you for half price. If you buy a box, I'll sell it to you for $12.
Mhm.
All total, we had about 70 peaches because I did buy the whole box because that was just a no-brainer. as far as, savings. And I knew that I could, purpose all of those peaches in one way or another, whether it be juicing, making desserts, just eating them fresh because they were so good and really sweet. But I took advantage of it. And now we have peaches that will last us for a couple of months.
Yes. So that's another tip. Something else you can do is look into a CSA, community service agricultural. You in your area where you might be able to buy, you know, uh, produce in a bulk. So you may need to go in with someone if if you don't think you're going to consume, maybe partner with a neighbor, a family member, but you'll get the fresh produce, on a regular basis. That may save you, some money. Also, you want to say something?
No, you said partner up with a neighbor. I was going to also recommend, because they do it in our community and they've done it in, the community in New Jersey. On the community Facebook page, neighbors will solicit collaborations with neighbors. If you may not know them, but you could partner to go in on, bulk purchasing.
Yes. Always want to try to buy your produce in season because there tends to also be cheaper. And if you can find, places that sell farmers, gardeners, or find places that will sell blemished produce, at a reduced price, because we've gotten so used as consumers to our produce looking magazine perfect.
Right. Photogenic. You
Yeah.
want it photo perfect, right?
Right.
That beautiful photo finish. But they even have a company now called Ugly Root.
Something like that. Yeah, I can't remember. So.
Right, where they are capitalizing off of the produce and the foods that people don't want to purchase in the market, or that the markets are rejecting. It's
Yes.
not even making it to the market. So let me correct that. But that the markets don't even want to purchase because they don't look the way they feel that the consumer would be attracted to purchasing it.
Right. So you possibly want to try to find or ask. You possibly can even ask the supermarket that you go to. What do they do with produce that they remove from the shelf? Because if you're not really concerned about how it looks, as long as it's still edible, why not take it? And especially like I said, if you're juicing, you really could care less about how the food looks because, again, you're juicing.
Yep, we had quite a few ugly peaches last week, but they were also good.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, they were absolutely delicious.
So you want to, consider that as well. Again, and these are just tips to help reduce the cost. And the last tip is always consider growing your own. Now, growing your own may be a little bit of starting. I've heard people say, well, why don't you just run to the supermarket and get a bag of apples? Well, that takes the joy out of it. Plus, when you grow your own, it's all the other benefits. Now, certain things you may not be able to grow based on location, based on space, but again, we always advise people to reduce your cost as well.
Right, and it's the joy of doing it.
Yes.
Right? And like you said, there are other benefits, and one of those benefits is for mental health. It really puts you in a state of a meditative state, and it allows you to connect with nature.
Yes.
Now,
I like to say it's a physical, mental, and spiritual benefit about growing your own food.
Okay, Coach, it's a little warm in here. I think we need to get to the business at hand on showing our viewers what we've done with some of the pulp, the fruit pulp, from the juicing that we do every morning. Just so you know, it's not just for posting and showing. These are actually popsicles that we created from some of the pulp, and I believe this is the base pulp is peach.
Yes.
The base pulp is peach pulp. Actually added a couple of other ingredients like honey, a little bit of cinnamon,
Yes.
a little bit of ginger. You can,
Oh,
oh, it's melting, it's melting. That's okay because it's very loose.
Mhm.
But you can actually modify the ingredients to suit your taste. These are absolutely fantastic. Get the kids in on it, help so they can help you make them because it's a no cook recipe actually. You just put your pulp in the blender with your other ingredients, put it down in a nice popsicle mold. It's one we have here. And summer is upon us. And if your kids are like my kids, they want ice cream and popsicles. Let them make their own and add their own flavors. And there you have homemade, healthy versions of sweet treats.
Yes. Yep. Now,
Oh my, that's so good.
like I said, here, like I said, this one was made from the pulp.
Mhm.
So again, it's upcycling your food so that the pulp doesn't go to waste. Now, because we garden, sometimes we use the pulp as part of composting. But you can also, like I said, use it as dishes. We showed it in the previous episode where we, did the kind of muffins, sort of little,
Little dessert cakes.
yes, dessert cakes. But here's just, as Coach said, summer's upon us, so make some popsicles. You know what? All you want to do is you can blend up the pulp, add some water, even coconut water to add another nutritional benefit, and freeze it. Experiment with the ingredients.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you won't be disappointed. One, anything homemade for the most part is good because you get to customize
Yes.
how it tastes.
And you get to control the
And you
ingredients.
control the ingredients, absolutely. And Coach, I think you had a chocolate version.
Yeah, this one is slightly different. Right? Right. This is a chocolate popsicle that's actually made from, all right, has bananas in it. And the bananas were in the freezer and they had been there for a moment. When we thawed them out, they were very ripe. So again, the presentation was a factor. These bananas would have been no good. But because they were sweet, use them as a natural sweetener. So here's what we did is, just added, this happens to have vegan protein powder in it, so it's kind of a step up healthy, but added like a teaspoon of Hershey cacao powder along with the bananas. In here is a mint leaf, fresh mint leaf that came out of our garden. And basically, that was really it. And so I have a chocolate banana with a bit of mint inside. And again, experiment. And again, you have a healthy option. And again, you reduce food waste because those bananas probably would have been tossed because they were that ripe.
Right, exactly. And it goes, that's a good segue into not discarding your overripened fruit. We have strawberries and blackberries here that we're going to juice, but you can also repurpose this. It would have been a time that I would have tossed this. I would not have eaten it. But now I realize there's really nothing wrong with it as long as it hasn't spoiled. And this hasn't spoiled. It just sort of started to break down in the refrigerator. So I'm going to use it in either juicing and or creating a dessert. So I'll be repurposing or upcycling this in another ingredient.
Yes. And that's why we encourage folks to also garden, because if it gets to a point where, you cannot consume it, you always return it back to the source, which is nature.
Yep.
And that's the benefit of composting. So we try to close the loop, so that nothing really goes to waste. So you upcycle, you can compost. when it comes to the pork, I use a technique where I don't even compost often. I just put it in a blender and feed it directly to the plants by digging a trench, pour it in, with some water, and just let it get absorbed in the soil, or consumed by worms. So again, try to reduce your food waste. It saves you money, and it helps the environment.
Exactly.
And it continues your health and wellness cycle.
That's right. So I think that's it for me, Coach.
Yes,
but we want to remind everyone about the Purple Cup Challenge.
Yes.
Hey, Auntie, thank you for joining us.
So, you see we have our purple cup here, and you see a tomato plant and oh, I'm sorry.
There we go.
There's our, tomato plant, and it doesn't matter what you grow, but the challenge is simply growing something. And as we've asked, those who our viewers before, even if you're already gardening, just grow something in a cup to say, yep, we're with you. We're out here trying to encourage other people to grow. And why, again, the Purple Cup? Just showing people, low-cost, economical ways to start gardening.
Yeah.
You don't need a patch of land. You don't need, a whole lot of equipment. And this, tomato plant, it will grow and it will produce tomatoes. There may only be a few. They may be small, but nature will make it happen.
Absolutely. We have a tomato plant right now that has over 30 fruit on it right now. So you can't say that, you can't afford to plant and grow your own. You really can't afford not to.
Correct.
You really can't afford not to. My auntie says that my grandmother used to freeze her bananas.
Okay.
So, it's a tried and true method.
Yeah. And I don't have my notes in front of me, but I just recently learned a doctor pointed out the benefits. There's a health benefit to freezing your bananas. And I'll have to look that up and I'll have that next session. So for whatever reason your grandmother was doing it, she was probably ahead, of the time from a health perspective, but there's actually health benefits.
But you have to share that with us the next
Yes.
time we're on. So, Coach, I think we have poured into our viewers what we're going to pour into them tonight. So, any last remarks?
No, just that, we thank everyone who comments on when we post our juices in the morning. For those who have started, again, thank you for joining. We hope others will be encouraged to take part in our health and wellness journey.
Yep, absolutely. And in the next week or two, I'll be sharing some tips on incorporating your juicing into your fasting process. If you're fasting for periods of time or intermittent fasting, I'll be sharing some tips and some techniques on making sure that you're successful in your fasting.
Yes, and I'll be doing an upcoming session on Iron Well platform on the health benefits of fasting.
Yep.
Because it's now starting to hit the medical community, the health benefits. So I just want to share that with everybody as well.
All right. Listen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Whether you joined us live or you're catching the replay, just know that we appreciate your participation and your engagement. I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
Join us next week for another episode of Inside Outside on Wellness Wednesday. And remember, if you do not start now, there can be no next. Have a great evening.
Good night.